What's going on, everybody? It is Juan from Raven Drone Solutions. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below and these videos will come directly to you. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the harsh realities of the drone industry. Now, some of this might sound a little bit similar to the last video that I did, which is my first thoughts of the drone industry. If you haven't looked at that video, it is linked down below. Alright, so without further ado, let's go right to it. Alright, so one of the first harsh realities of the drone industry, and you can ask a lot of people about this, especially on Facebook and things like that, is that there's a lot of bad practices going on. Unfortunately, for many, the drone industry is still kind of the Wild West. There's a lot of things that people don't pay attention to. The barrier to entry for a lot of drone pilots is quite low. Really, a Part 107 is a good entryway, but it's not really a whole lot that you have to do in order to get one. And a lot of pilots don't really have safe practices. I've seen some pilots that are flying directly over people's heads. As a matter of fact, I was at an event not too long ago here in Miami. Now, I'm not going to say who this pilot was, but clearly this pilot, who was flying for commercial reasons, because I know he was probably being paid because I've seen him at several events here in the city of Miami, but this guy flies very, very unsafe. He's also a young guy, no more than, early 20s. I can guarantee you this guy's probably not licensed. And actually, the picture that I'm going to provide, this guy is flying like not even 5 feet over people's heads with a Mavic, no prop guards, no safety equipment, nothing. And we were at an event at a festival, and there's a lot of balloons in the air. Now, if you've ever seen on YouTube, balloons, if a drone pops a balloon, it'll actually bring it down. And obviously, you can hurt somebody, you can cut them, you can cause property damage, whatever the case might be. So unfortunately, there's a lot of bad practices by a lot of pilots, which obviously makes guys like myself who try to at least follow the rules as much as possible, makes their job a lot harder. Not only that, but a lot of companies also have bad practices. There's many companies that, because they just want to have the job done, they don't really care how you do it. A lot of times they'll make pilots do very, very questionable things. I've been asked by one company, which I will not name, if you've been in the drone industry for any length of time, this company has actually been on the blacklist for a while. I don't know how they're still even in business, but I digress. This company asked me to tailgate into gated communities. It asked me to show up unannounced at people's houses. Not unannounced necessarily. If I cannot reach them, to just show up, which to me that's a very dumb idea. Unless if I get confirmation from a homeowner that I'm to arrive, I will not go there, because of the fact that opens you up to a lot of danger, which I don't even need to explain. But there's other things. There's people that are flying way too close to structures. There's people that are flying, around areas that they shouldn't. Flying close to airports, which, you would think that a lot of these drones, because they're pretty smart, they can block a lot of that out, but not always. I've seen people fly directly over vehicles, but, in unsafe ways. Now, granted, a lot of the rules that are set out by the FAA, some of them they really need to catch up with the technology, and you can't really prevent it all. Obviously, have I flown over people? Have I flown over vehicles? Of course I have. Pretty much everybody I know has. It's nearly impossible not to. But there are ways you can mitigate risk. And you see some people that they're really pushing the envelope and not in a good way. I've seen people fly literally inside a shopping mall. And I'm not talking an FPV with prop guards. I'm talking a full-blown like Mavic 2 or Mavic 3, and obviously this is not a good idea. So yes, there's a lot of pilots that do some really bad stuff, and there's a lot of bad practices going on by both pilots and companies. Now, the second harsh reality, and this one's going to be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, and that is that nobody's going to really pay you any substantial amount of money, or any at all, to just fly a drone. You need actual skills that are going to offer value to the client, right? They pay you for the data that you capture. So one thing that you see a lot of pilots, one thing that really pisses off a lot of pilots is they spend all this money on a drone. They say, oh, I got this great new drone, blah, 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 whatever. Cool. That's awesome. I'm sure you'll turn a lot of heads with that drone. However, nobody really cares. Okay. Really, the thing is, what they're paying you for is for that data, even for something as simple as real estate. And I'm going to mention real estate a lot because it's the one that a lot of people do. Even just real estate. It's the data that you're capturing for the realtor or the real estate company or whatever, for their own marketing purposes or whatever the case might be. If you can't fly the mission correctly, if you're all fidgety, if the lighting isn't right, if you're not capturing things how you should, if it's not in the center of the screen, it's practically useless to the client. Now, even for me, I admit I've made mistakes with even for something as simple as real estate. Obviously, we all need to practice, and I corrected that mistake. However, it is something that you have to understand with the drone industry. And many people, they charge out these outrageous rates, and a lot of them don't have the skills, and they think that just because they spent 20 grand on a drone, that the work that they put out equates to that amount of money. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Really, the value that you're getting is from the work that you're putting in. Now, granted, the drone captures that. The drone, whether it's the actual vehicle or the payload, like LiDAR, thermal, whatever the case might be, or maybe you have a very nice lens or whatever that captures amazing pictures and videos. Well, that's what they're paying you for, is for the data. They don't really care about your drone. So keep this in mind when you go and start, when you first start out. Don't go and break the bank and get yourself a Matrice 300 or something like that, because you're more likely not going to need it when you're first starting out. Not only that, but they're not going to pay you for that kind of money, for the amount that you spend on the drone. If you say, well, look, but I have this top of the line drone with the latest and greatest, gets and gadgets, great. But if all they're paying you for is for basic real estate, well, then you can't charge a whole lot. So just keep this in mind, guys. Really, the thing is, as I said, it's data. They don't care about how you fly, and they don't really care about your drone. What they care about is the data. All right, the third point, and kind of piggybacking off the last point, is that nobody really cares about your drone or how much you paid for it. Like I said, it's about the data. I don't really need to harp on this too much, but I've seen a lot of guys go and get pretty much in debt with these brand new drones, the Matrice or whatever the case might be, and it's sitting there collecting dust because they're not getting the clients. Now, I can really dive into that scenario somewhere down the road, but yeah, really, the thing is, nobody cares about your drone. The fact is, most people wouldn't know the difference. Most people wouldn't know the difference between the DJI Air 2S and a Mavic 2 Pro or anything like that. They won't know the difference. To them, it's all the same. So, really, just be very careful how you spend your money. Just get what you need. Get something that's good enough. If you need to get it on eBay or whatever, I highly encourage it. I did that with one of my drones, and it works just fine. I've done cell towers with it, and honestly, the data that I was able to capture was phenomenal, and I saved a lot of money in the process. So, as I said, it's the data. All right, the fourth thing that is a very big, harsh reality that a lot of pilots, and I have faced on more than a few occasions, and that is that a lot of companies run false or at least overly hyped advertising. So let me explain. One thing that I see with many companies is that they like to say, well, user training, or, come work with us and you could be making close to 6 figures within your first year. That is a best case scenario if they give you work pretty much every day. The fact is, a lot of these companies like DroneBase, DroneUp, B360, all these others, the jobs come sparingly. Some of them come every day, some of them don't. And it's just a harsh reality that we have to face. And there was another company that I did some training with, which I have a non-disclosure agreement with them, so I can't really discuss too much. I can't disclose their name. However, a lot of people are very upset with this company because they put out the training and everything, and unfortunately they did not deliver on a lot of what they promised. They said that they were going to be the turnkey solution, they were going to give you jobs in your area, and all you have to do is specialize in a niche or two and you'll be fine. Well, it's been over a year and a lot of people are quite mad about at them. So just understand that a lot of times these companies, they run very overhyped advertising. They just want your money, a lot of them. And a lot of them, it's not the fact that they're being nefarious. It's just a lot of it, you just have to do your homework. If you see that for each job that you're making, each job that you accept from them, you're only making $50. Well, how much do you really need to make per day for you to actually be comfortable? And this is where a lot of these things come in. Okay, I was working with another company, which I'm not going to name, but they made it seem like you can actually make a decent amount of money. And, some people say that they were great. Most, like 90% of everybody that's worked for them has told them to go pound sand because they're terrible. And I think they're terrible. And I'll talk about this company without disclosing them at another video. However, this company basically made me go to each site that they assigned me, and it was only maybe on average $30-$35 per site, and it was a lot of work that I had to put up front, and the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. I was not making anything. The amount of money that I was making, basically I was losing with my time, gas, tolls, equipment, drone insurance, you name it. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm wasting my time with these people. And it got to the point where I just told them, guys, don't call me anymore. I'm done with you guys. You guys don't it's a race to the bottom with you guys. But there was another company, same thing. I did many missions with them. It was real estate. Got to the point where I'm like, guys, you guys are not profitable. I'm sorry. And I had to leave them for this reason. So just make sure you do your homework and understand that a lot of times these companies, they just want to make money off of you. They understand that the barrier to entry is very low. They understand that, a 16-year-old kid who got a drone for Christmas and can make some money, might as well hire him or her versus, somebody that's in their 20s or 30s that's actually trying to build a business, because they know that they're going to be a lot more expensive versus the teenager who is a lot cheaper. So, and that's basically how they treat a lot of the pilots anyway. So just keep this in mind when you first start out. It's just unfortunately the nature of the beast, especially today with the gig economy. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this, unfortunately. All right, the fifth is a lot of companies really take advantage of pilots and underpay them. And a lot of times, just what they ask you to do isn't always legal. All right, so as I said before, a lot of times these companies, they just want to make money off of you. They don't really care. They will send you an hour away to do a job, and when you're really calculating your job profitability, you're barely making anything. As a matter of fact, you're almost making nothing. And this is something you got to keep in mind. A lot of people think, oh, $100 an hour, that's fantastic. All right, well, you got to look at all your other expenses, and then that's how much money you're really making. So, like I said, a lot of times these companies, they take advantage of pilots because they know that a lot of these pilots, they're new to the game, they're eager to just get more stuff on their portfolio. They'll pretty much do anything, and they say, all right, here you go, but you're hardly making anything. And as I said, a lot of times, be very careful what they ask you to do, because sometimes what they ask you to do can be illegal. And you being an independent contractor, you're the one that bears the responsibility, not them. Like I said, I was asked to tailgate into a gated community, and I told them no. And when when I told somebody else about it in that same company, one of the operations people, they said, no, don't ever do that. They shouldn't have never asked you to do that, because, if something happens, we're not liable. You're the one that gets sued. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I didn't do it. So be very careful with that. Sometimes there's companies that say, yeah, look, don't let the tenant see you flying the drone or whatever. Now, I don't know about the exact legality of this, but you need to be very careful and do not put yourself in a situation where you can potentially get hurt, get sued, or both. So just be very careful with that, especially when you really want to treat this as a business. You need to be very careful, because your business is your brand, and once your business name starts getting tarnished, once word gets around that you're doing things that are shady, that are illegal, that are dangerous, that's when things can go pretty bad for you. And especially in this country, in the United States, everybody loves to sue for everything. So just be very careful with that. I wouldn't suggest you putting yourself in any situation like that, especially not for a company that is hardly paying you anything. Just don't do it. All right, the sixth thing is when you're first starting out, you might have to do free work or work that's really bottom of the bucket to get experience. Like I said, a lot of us, we have to start off from the very bottom and work our way up, because at the end of the day, you're the new kid on the block. This, unfortunately, is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of people think that just because they got an expensive drone, that they're worth expensive. Their rates are they should be expensive. And while I tend to agree, because obviously you got to make money, like I said, it's the data, and you need to be able to show the clients that you're worth that investment, you're worth that money. So understand that when you're first starting out, sometimes you're just going to have to bite the bullet. Sometimes you're just going to have to do free work. I actually still do free work every now and then, and it's for prospective clients. It's not just a one-off thing. It's if I know this person is going to get me more work, or they know people that can use my services and they have the connections, then I will do that work. Actually, today was one of them. I was a guy that I know. He's in a car dealership, and he helps people buy cars, and he's a car guy. He loves like antiques and stuff like that. So I did some videos for him, and I captured a bunch of videos at really cool angles, and he's gonna help me get my business name out there. So especially when you're in entrepreneurship, referrals are one of the biggest ways that people get money. I mean, people get clients. So yeah, a lot of times you're just gonna have to, but be very careful. Don't be doing it for too long. Don't just give out work for free, because at the end of the day, it's out of your pocket. I mean, even for me, just the simple fact that I showed up and did the mission, well, I mean, that's money out of my pocket. That's gas, that's tolls, that's obviously the wear and tear on the drone, insurance, you name it. But I know this person is probably going to be able to get me more work, and especially if I do a good job for him, and he has something to show other people, then that's when that's a good sign. But nobody's going to be paying you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars without seeing your work. So just understand that when you first start out, just be a bit humble and understand that you're the new kid on the block, and that until you actually have that credibility, you need to keep your aspirations realistic, and you need to just understand that it takes time. It takes time to build, and it might take a decent amount of time until you're actually able to charge clients a good amount for your services. Seventh, with the price of many services going down, for many it's a race to the bottom. I would say real estate might be one of those, depending on who you are, obviously. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into this. Just because you're in real estate doesn't mean that it's a race to the bottom, so please do not hate me on the comments. I'm just saying, because there's so many people that are doing it. For a lot of companies, it's just if they require very basic stuff, they don't need a big time professional. They could just get an 18-year-old kid that has a Mini to do it. I'm just being realistic, guys. Okay. There's other areas in which certain things are it's just the nature of the beast. Automation, things like that. I know Skydio launched their thing where it's a box, and the drone goes in and flies missions autonomously. Now, this doesn't mean that the pilot is obsolete. However, the pilot is not needed as much. Now, this obviously depends on the specific type of mission and the location, but what I'm trying to say here is that you have to understand that what might work today might not work 2 to 3 years from now. Just like what works today, what the kind of stuff that worked 2 to 3 years ago, today doesn't really fly anymore. So just keep that in mind, especially with the technology. Things are always changing, so you need to stay on top of it. And yeah, just understand that you have to be willing to change with the times, and you have to be proactive, because at the end of the day, the technology catches up. people realize that, oh, I don't have to pay all this money anymore. I can just do it for a lot cheaper, and undercutting, everybody else. Why not, right? Especially if you're the client, you want to save money. So just keep that in mind if you really want to be successful in this industry. But yes, understand that for many kind of services, the prices are going down because automation, because also the market is getting kind of saturated. Also, just certain things aren't needed anymore. So just keep this in mind when you're first starting out in the drone industry. All right, the eighth thing, and I kind of harped on this before with the unsafe practices, but also there's a lot of unlicensed pilots doing work that they shouldn't be doing. A lot of people either don't know or don't care that what they're doing is actually illegal. If you're doing any kind of commercial work, you need a license. Okay, if you're a Part 107 pilot, you already know this. However, I've seen this multiple times where I go to a place, I see somebody flying a drone, they're doing it obviously for commercial reasons, they're getting paid, and you know for a fact this person doesn't have a license because you ask them questions, they have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Or sometimes you flat out ask them, are you licensed? And they say, no, actually I'm not. I'm flying, I'm just getting paid under the table, basically. I've had people literally admit that. So, yeah, I try not to be a Karen about it. I'm not going to be a rat. I'm not going to be a narc. But it is something you're going to have to face because obviously you're trying to do everything right. You're trying to do everything by the book. You're trying to be a business and do things the right way. For me, I try to do everything the right way because at the end of the day, what the other guys do, that's their problem. But for me, I like to make sure, and I like for my clients to have the assurance that everything I'm doing is legal, everything I'm doing is licensed, I have the right insurance, I'm doing everything as it should be, and that they can trust me instead of hiring some guy that's probably doing some very shady work. So, unfortunately, guys, this is something you're going to have to face. It is what it is. Just my personal opinion. Don't get into it with any of these people. Just walk away. It'll be the best. All right, so the next thing. When operating as your own company, you will need to factor in all your costs. Now, this should be self-explanatory. However, there's many drone pilots that operate as their own businesses, and there's many businesses that contract drone pilots that don't really take this into account. I've seen many drone pilots that they price themselves too low, their expenses are here, and obviously they're the ones that are going to be a race to the bottom. They're the ones that don't make it, okay? Also, you have companies that hire pilots, and they have a laundry list of requirements, but when you really look at how much you're making, it doesn't make any sense. I actually had a conversation with a company about this. They wanted me to do certain types of inspections, and I said, okay, fantastic, let's do it, but what do you need from me, and how much are you paying? And they said, well, you need to have all these requirements, okay, all this gear, all this stuff. I'm like, okay. And when they gave me the map of the area, and I said, this is how much you're being paid, I'm like, well, hold on a second. And I know because I've done some of these inspections before with another company, and I said, well, listen, there is no guarantee that I'm able to do each mission, okay? There is a certain amount of driving time, okay? Then we're talking environmental factors. Then we're talking if I also have to stay overnight somewhere, because a lot of this stuff was not close to where I live. And then on top of that, it's just everything else, like all the other miscellaneous stuff, gas and tolls and you name it. This is not profitable. Is there a way that we can renegotiate? Because it's not the first time I do these inspections, first off. Second, by this point, I kind of know my worth, and I know that I'm able to do a lot better. And also, I was also given another offer by another company that was going to be paying more. But either way, yeah, they clearly did not factor in all these other things. And I'm not saying it was an insult, because for me, it's just I just learned to walk away. But it is something you're going to have to face. There's other companies that, like I said, $35 for a site, and you're like, whoa, hold on, but what do I have to provide? I got to provide insurance, drone, equipment, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. And on top of that, that's your time. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Really, when you factor in some stuff, you're making below minimum wage. And I actually brought that up to one company. So just understand that a lot of times these companies, they don't factor in your costs, and a lot of people don't factor in their own costs. For me, I had to get with my wife. We went down the list. We said, okay, each drone, how much it costs. This is how much we have to make in order to be in the positives. This is how much we charge for gas and blah blah. Okay, now, like I said, we're not the cheapest, but we need to operate under a certain margin, or if not, there's no point in this business. So know how to stay in the positives, or else you're gonna be like a lot of these other guys that it's just a race at the bottom, and then they end up quitting. All right, the 10th thing, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for this one, but drone pilots can be on two very different spectrums. They can either be very helpful, or they can be very, very petty and vindictive. And I've seen this a lot on when I've done events with other drone pilots, or especially on Facebook. Facebook is not necessarily the place where you find the best form of engagement with other pilots. It is what it is. But I've seen this a lot. There's a lot of pilots that are very helpful. They want to see others succeed. They even host training of their own, and they want to help other pilots get stuff, because at the end of the day, like I said, guys, in my last video, there's a lot of room for cooperation. Just because we may do some of the same stuff does not mean that we're necessarily in competition with each other. Okay, like I said, there's a lot of work to go around, and even if it's real estate, there's so many things you could do. Even if I'm the one that does real estate in my general area, and there's another drone pilot that wants to do the same thing, well, guess what? I can't do every single listing, and I do other things as well. I do other things with my business. So sometimes I could probably give that other person the work because I don't need it. And yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of other drone pilots that they just like to tear each other down. They don't offer really any helpful insight. I've seen other drone pilots that they like to give misleading information to other people because they want to crush their own competition. But in my opinion, it's not really crushing the competition. You're sweeping the rug from the other guy, which I think is dumb. But yeah, it happens a lot. I've had many good friends that in this industry that are very helpful, but I've had others that, quite frankly, just they like to keep everything to themselves. They're not helpful. They like to bicker back and forth. You might post something on social media. Like, for example, I posted a real estate shoot that I did one time, and one person just started bombarding, saying how I'm doing this against the law and blah blah blah, and it kind of got to the point where I'm like, all right, man, whatever, I don't care. It happens all the time, unfortunately. You have a lot of people that, quite frankly, got way too comfortable talking crap to each other without getting any consequences for it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, you see this a lot. But personally, that's not the kind of image that I want to have. That's not the kind of environment I want to create. I want to create an environment where other people can prosper, where I can work together with other pilots, where it creates a positive environment, where we actually help each other grow, we give good information, and we want to see each other succeed. So that's the kind of environment I want to create. To me, that's the best way to do things. I don't like it when it's just constantly nagging or stuff like that. So that's just me. But yes, you will see this a lot in the drone industry. All right, last. And this one really depends on the individual person, but really across the board, finding clients takes time. And it takes a lot of work to convince people. Like I said, for many people, they're still very ignorant towards the drone industry, and they don't understand the level of value that the right drone services can bring to them, to their business, to whatever the case might be. So yeah, it can take time. You're going to get a lot of no's. Really, just with entrepreneurship in general, it takes time. It takes calling people. It takes writing emails, and you're going to get a lot of no's. For me, what I do is I posted on Facebook, I posted on LinkedIn, and especially Instagram, and obviously now YouTube. I will link my Instagram down below, but that's actually one way I started marketing myself, and I even got calls because of it. Some people said, "Hey, I like your work. Are you able to do X, Y, and Z?" So it takes time. Now I've been in this. I've opened up my business about 10 months ago, and it's taking time. I actually just got an email today. Somebody wanted me to do commercial real estate, and they asked me, "Hey, listen, I heard about your company. I heard you guys do some good work. We want to see if you're able to do this." I said, "Obviously, I am. Of course. Let's do it." But yes, this stuff takes time. It takes a lot of work. It takes networking. It takes advertisements. It takes posting content. Sometimes it takes doing free work. For some people, if you see like a realtor or real estate company, whatever the case might be, and you want to do, and this person or this company can get you more work, you can ask them, "Look, I'll do the first job for free, and if you like it, we can negotiate terms and payment and all that stuff, but it just requires you to get it done. It really requires you to get up off your feet and do it, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight." And now, one of the biggest problems with our generation, like millennials and the younger ones, is we like instant gratification. We like everything now. We want the instant likes and comments and this, that, because we grew up on social media. Well, even though growing your business on social media is a great way to do it, let's face it, it takes time. Like I said, you're the new kid on the block. You really got to prove your credibility. You got to prove that you can get things done. You got to prove to your customers that you're going to take care of them. And that's how you get more clients. Because at the end of the day, if nobody knows who you are, you're out of luck. Alright guys, so that is it for today. Let me know what you think down in the comments. What have you guys faced in the drone industry? What are the harsh realities that you guys have faced? Please share them down below so we can contribute to the conversation and help other aspiring drone pilots grow and understand what they're facing. Because as I said, this industry, as exciting as it may be, it's not for everybody. Like I said, for many people, it's a race at the bottom. For many people, they see the hype, but then they get into it and then they realize that it's a lot of work up front. So I want everybody to come in with their eyes wide open. But yes, contribute to the conversation. Subscribe down below. Hit me with one of these for the YouTube algorithm. And stay tuned for more videos. Alright guys, that is it for today. See you next time.